In the first part of this module, we will highlight the differences between the A340 300 and A340 600 automatic start sequence. Then, we will see those concerning the manual start sequence. The A340 600 automatic start sequence procedure is similar to the A340 300 one and is described in your FCOM Volume 3 in the SOP chapter. Engines 1 and 2 are started first, then engines 3 and 4. Let's start engine 1. On the system display, the start valve opens, the oil pressure increases and the fuel used is reset. On the engine warning display, N3 starts to increase. As on the A340 300, the white box around engine 1 parameters is designed to catch the pilot's attention during the start sequence. Also notice the grey background behind N3 value. It stays until the parameter stabilizes. When engine 1 N3 is about 10%, engine 2 master switch can be set to on. This will be done for you. At 25% N3, the active igniter, A or B, is powered. Then the fuel flow begins. After a maximum of 30 seconds, N1 and EGT increase. The maximum EGT during start shall not exceed 700 degrees Celsius. At 50% N3, the start valve closes and the ignition stops. The N3 value stabilizes at about 63% and the grey background disappears, indicating that the start sequence has finished. The avail indication is displayed. It indicates that the engine 1 start sequence is finished and that this engine is at idle. Avail will disappear after a few seconds or as soon as thrust is applied. The grey sector also appears as soon as the engine is at idle. It shows the normal EPR range. The minimum EPR grey sector value will vary according to the altitude and the flight conditions. When all engine parameters have stabilized, the engine start selector is set to normal. On the system display, the start valve indications are replaced by the nacelle temperature indications. Engine 1 is now running and all its parameters have stabilized. The A340 600 manual start procedure is also similar to that of the A340 300. It is described in your FCOM Volume 3 in the Supplementary Techniques chapter. When performing a manual start sequence, first of all, the pilot must check that the thrust levers are in the idle position. Each of the engine manual start push buttons controls their respective start valves. First, the engine start selector is set to the ignition start position. On the system display, the engine page is displayed. Let's start engine 1 manually, raising the guard and selecting engine manual start 1 push button switch. This will be done for you. Immediately, the engine 1 start valve opens and the N3 and oil pressure parameters increase. When N3 reaches the maximum motoring speed, 25% minimum, the engine 1 master switch is set to on. Both igniters are powered. The fuel used is reset. The fuel flow increases. A few seconds after fuel is on, N1, EGT and EPR increase. At 50% of N3, the start valve closes and the two igniters are cut off. Engine 1 manual start must now be switched off. When exceeding 55%, N3 stabilizes and the grey background disappears, indicating that Engine 1 manual start sequence is finished. All the other Engine 1 parameters have also stabilized. The manual start of Engine 1 has now been completed. If required, the other engines can be started following the same procedure.